Regina coming at you guys with another video. Remember that whole thing where I said I was going to be more consistent on YouTube and post every week? Obviously that's a fail. This video was actually supposed to be in 3 parts, meaning I already did 1 review. I was going to do separate reviews for these 3 different books, including a wrap-up, which would have been my 4th video, or 5th. And so I decided, you know what, let me just combine these reviews and a wrap-up all in 1 video. So I'm not going to go in too many details. I'm just going to tell you the books that I read, and then do a review. And yeah, we'll take it from there. So, the first book I read was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This is the very first V.E. Schwab book that I've read. I have A Darker Shade of Magic, which I got more than a year ago, and just haven't picked it up, but this is really good. I enjoyed the lyrical writing to it. I enjoyed, shockingly, purple prose. You guys know, I'm not a fan of purple prose. I hate when an author takes forever to set the scene or describe something. But in this book, it was more of a savor the moment type of book. If you guys don't know what this is, a young girl in 1714? Yeah, 1714. Adeline LaRue, or Addie, makes a deal with the devil and says that she wants to live forever and doesn't want to be tied down. But as a result, the devil says, I will grant you your wish, but you will not be remembered by anyone. So this whole book, we are really going through her life in Italy, England, Paris, and New York City. She does visit other countries, but this is what the author and what Addie really chose to focus on. And so, she spends all this time trying to leave her mark, even though she cannot tell her own story. So she becomes a muse of sorts for the people that she comes across, which is pretty cool. And she always is kind of sad and mopey about the fact that she's going to live alone and never be remembered by anyone until she steps into a bookshop in Manhattan, and this guy named Henry says, I remember you. And and then their whole life changes, and then you realize later on why Henry is the only one who can remember her. Because as it turns out, he made his own deal with the devil. So, this is really beautiful. It's very character-driven, and while the plot is that she can't remember, no one can remember Addie, but she wants to be remembered, and she's gonna try to figure out a way to get back at Luke, the demon, or the devil. I give this book 5 stars. It was beautiful. I would say the only thing I didn't like about this was maybe the epilogue. I think if V.E. Schwab hadn't written the last part, it would have been perfection. So, but then again, that's not enough for me to alter my rating, because it is indeed a 5-star review, and you guys know, I do not read overtly hyped books. I don't like hyped books, because they almost never meet my expectations, but this met my expectations and then some. Next up, I read Red, White, and Royal Blue. I got this as a recommendation from someone from the Strand. And oh my god. Again, another hyped book. Absolutely beautiful. This story follows Alex Claremontius, who is the son of the first female president of the United States. And he is so bright. He's so smart and so bright. He's able to... Okay, I'm going to make a reference. It's going to date me a bit. If you've seen it, you'll know. He's basically Joshua Lyman from The West Wing in this book. And I know that's what Casey McQuiston kind of went after, because she did reference The West Wing a couple of times. And so he has an arch nemesis, shall we say, who is the Prince of Wales, Prince Henry. And so they get into an altercation at the royal wedding. And now both heads of state are saying, fix it. So they come up with a ruse of that, they're friends, they're hanging out. And, little by little, they're starting to really understand each other. They're really getting to know each other. This book was just a cherry on top. This was like a cupcake or a cake that is so rich. It's so delicious. It's so amazing. And I love that it was queer, and I love that it was a romance. I don't really read much of those, and I said I wanted to read more of these, so I stepped out of my comfort zone. And this author happens to be queer as well. Queer, non-binary, and bisexual. So they did a really good job with this book, and I cannot wait for her next novel, which is not a sequel, but a standalone, called One Last Stop, also set in New York. And so beautifully written. I loved the little references to Harry Potter, which now is problematic. The Harry Potter thing, not in the book. I love that there were hints of, I guess, real world politics. Marco Rubio was mentioned. Mitch McConnell was mentioned. Maxine Waters. And it's so good. I should also say that I finished this book on January 19th, right before Inauguration Day. And I was like, that is perfect. I said, you know what? This has been the administration for the last 4 years. But no, seriously. I loved this book so freaking much. It was wonderful. I wouldn't read this book again. No, I'm going to read this book again for February. So now we know what book 1 is on the TBR. Can't wait. I also rated this 5 stars. Perfect. It was... Oh my god. I love that I say that I don't like romances. I don't read romances. But... it's just... There's just like the cherry on top. For good reasons. There was... And it wasn't the whole... There was no Insta love in this. Right? And it was all consensual. It was great for the time that we're living in now, and how we're following the Me Too movement, we're following consent is sexy. And really, I don't know, the author seems to get teenagers, she seems to understand young adults, The language and the slang that they used was actually what I would use. It, was perfection. And if I haven't mentioned, I gave this book 5 stars. Next up, I read Aries Apparently by Diana Ma. I got this book from Vegan Book Box. And this was actually December's box. Was supposed to read this for January's book club, but I guess this month shipping was really weird, and I don't think everyone got their boxes. And I figured, hey, it's a very small book. Let me kill it within a day or two. And really, this book was honestly, I think I read this within 2 days. Like 24 hours, not even. This book, I'm gonna give you the synopsis for this one. Behind every great family lies a great secret. There's one rule in Gemma-owned family. Never, under any circumstances, set foot in Beijing. But when Gemma, an aspiring actress, lands her first break, a lead role in an update of Madame Butterfly, which just so happens to be filming in the Chinese capital, Gemma heads to LAX without looking back. It's an amazing opportunity for her burgeoning career, and she'll get to work with her idol. Of course, there's also the chance of discovering just exactly why she's forbidden from entering the city in the first place. When Gemma arrives in Beijing, she is instantly mobbed by paparazzi at the airport. She quickly realizes she may as well be the twin of Alyssa Chua, one of the most notorious young socialites in Beijing. Thus kicks off a season of revelations and romance in which Gemma uncovers a legacy her parents have spent their lives protecting her from, one her mother would conceal at any cost. So, wow. I love that I got to read from an Asian author, and I want to read more of Asian authors. Whether it's Indian authors, I'm getting some Indian author books next month from India. My dad's visiting. So technically, I'm not buying. She is. Japanese, Korean. I've read Pachinko, which I adored. Then, like, I want to read more diverse authors, is what I'm trying to say. This book was pretty relatable in the sense that I'm Asian, she's Asian, the main character. I like the little tidbits of how to pronounce certain names, like Nguyen. It's like, the name that's Vietnamese name that's spelled as Nguyen. I never knew how to say it, so in this book it actually explicitly spelled it out. I liked how they touched upon character appropriation, or casting actors in a movie or show, and depicting them for who they are. For example, I know this one scene in the book where Gemma is auditioning for a movie, and there's a scene in which another girl, an Asian girl, is playing, and wants to go for the same part. And one of the directors makes it a point to say, she is not Chinese, she's Vietnamese. So it also kind of implies that people outside of certain ethnicities and races have this notion that, all Chinese people look alike, all Korean, all Indian, all whatever have you look alike. And Gemma's idol goes to say, no, that's not the case. If we're going to have a Chinese movie, then we have to cast Chinese actors. Because it only makes sense, And that's why I loved Beauty and the Beast, because the characters themselves, especially Prince Ali, he was Middle Eastern. Like, hello? You're telling me that there's no one in the Middle East, or no one of Middle East descent who can play these roles? Okay. Another thing I was kind of amused by, actually, another scene in which Gemma and her friends, Asian friends, are also saying, oh, it's really funny how white people this, white people that, and I said, it's kind of funny because I've done the same thing too. So, there are some things where, even though I've lived in the States for 25 years now, some things elude me. And it's not more of being discriminatory, it's more of camaraderie, Sometimes your own people will understand certain things, And kind of like, where are you from? New York. Where are you really from? The U.S. Meaning your people, kind of saying nationality. Why people can't say ethnicity or nationality? I kind of boggles my mind. And me, I do say these things, but only because I'm nosy. I like knowing where people are from, because I think it's cool, Like, the United States is such a melting pot of cultures, and it's nice to know that, especially in New York, there are people from all walks of life. I gave this book 5 stars. Beautifully written. Oh, the family scene was also pretty cool. I also like that in China, they talked about LGBTQ issues. It was also mentioned. And it was also pointed out that, China is a conservative country and how LGBTQ things wouldn't be accepted. And another character goes to say, no, that's not true. China is a lot more modern than what people like the state or the media would have you believe. Think how LGBTQ issues have been in China for hundreds and thousands of years. So that's pretty cool. Also, one of her family members happens to be gay. And because this has such a tie-in with the communist regime of China, that it also becomes a problem because one of the characters is going not against her family, but is really trying to forge her own identity when she knows that there are certain people in her family who would not accept her, because of being in the communist regime, in the Cultural Revolution. They also touched upon the Tiananmen Square, the student protest, and how the Chinese people themselves were led to believe one thing when people in the West were led to believe another thing. Happens all the time. Happens in real life too. So, fantastic. Next book, I have literally just made a video about this. It's uploaded. No, what's it? Sin Eater is based on historical events. This book centers around a young girl named Owens who is caught stealing bread, and in retaliation, she is forced to become a sin eater. A sin eater in this book, and even in historical events, was known to be a person who would share the dying people's confessions and sins and take their sins on so that the dying would go to heaven, free of burdens, free of sins. And However, the sin eater would take on these sins and also saying the sin eater is not going to heaven. Um, this book also centers around a conspiracy plot in the royal kingdom, in which something occurred 15 years ago, and now her mentor, May Owen's mentor, paid the price for it. Because she refused to eat a deer heart because that sin was not spoken out loud. So therefore, they are under no obligations to eat it. However, because it's a conspiracy, the mentor is killed and tortured, and now May has to figure out what is going on, why it's happening, and yeah. For a more in-depth review, go see my other video. I gave this book 5 stars. It was a very unique book, and I appreciated that. Sin eaters, like I have implied, were real. Except, I've many things in history forgotten about, or very little known. So for that, I appreciated that. So, these are the 4 of my old books that I managed to read, and now we'll go into the wrap-up, because besides these 4, I have read other books, but I'm going to include the ones that I read to students. The Snowy Day by Ezra Jack Keats. I Will Make Miracles by Susie Morgenstern. This is really cute. I really appreciated this book. This was adapted by Leo Tolstoy's book. No, not that one. No, not that one. Sorry. Forget that part. What Does It Mean to Be Kind by Rana Di Oreo. One Love, multicultural children's books, mixed race children's book, Bob Marley books for kids, music by Cedella Marley Booker. Oh, that's a pretty name, Cedella. Have You Filled a Bucket Today by Carol McLeod. These books all have to do with being kind and compassionate towards one another. A huge theme of little grades. My favorite children's book that I've read this month was The 3 Questions by John J. Muth. And this book was actually adapted from Leo Tolstoy's story. And it centers around this young creature. Sorry, this human or creature, I forget. Who is asking 3 essential questions. How do I know that I'm doing the right thing? How do I know that I'm doing the wrong thing? And he asks the dog, the owl, and another creature, and, they all give different answers. And then the main character goes away and sees a tortoise, an old tortoise in trouble, and helps him out, while asking him these questions. And so, he learns, my brother's playing COD, he learns how he can make good decisions, even when it's not clear. I really appreciated that. It was a very good book. Probably one of my favorites, the little grades. My favorite, my old books it's actually a tie between Annie LaRue and Red, White, and Royal Blue. Books I did not get to, and I really wanted to get to, one is Akana Witch. I am in the process of reading it. It is January 30th, and you're going to see this video tomorrow, the 31st. Promise. So hopefully I may actually finish this. Let's see, what others? Oh, I wanted to read The Passion of Rosa. I did not get to that one. I've also been reading 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne, and I gotta tell you, that book is boring. I can't get into it. I tried the audiobook, I tried print, I'm not gelling with that book. So I'm gonna give up. I'm honestly going to DNF, Jules Verne. Let's see, what else? Oh, Stephen Jack the Ripper. I haven't gotten to that book at all. So I'm curious. I will be reading that book at some point, later in the year. And, yeah. Alright, I am going to go. Comment, like, subscribe, stay healthy, wear a mask, hydrate, and yeah, alright, bye!